Hey, this is Matt, and you're listening to Bluegrass Jam Along, the podcast for anyone and everyone who plays bluegrass. Hey everybody, welcome back to another week on the podcast. This is the second Bluegrass Briefing episode, the Bluegrass Briefing for Monday, the 6th of March, 2023. So a cool thing happened on Saturday. The podcast turned 2. Bluegrass Jam Along is officially 2 years old. Can't quite believe it, really. 2 years, 260 episodes. It's been quite a couple of years, and I've loved every minute of it. It's been really cool. I thought I'd just share a few interesting facts from those couple of years. Well, you might just think they're fact, but I think they're interesting. The guest I've had on the podcast most so far has been Jake Eddy. He's been on twice for 2 separate interviews. One, he was the very first guest I had, but then I had him on again to talk about his record with Andy Statman. And he was on the Doc Watson tribute episode that went out on Doc's birthday on Friday. Plus, I've also chatted to him for something that's coming up that's Tony Rice related that I will share some more info with you in the coming weeks about, because that's going to be really cool. The most downloaded episode of the podcast to date has been an interview with Jared Walker from Billy Strings Band. That's still getting downloads every week, and which is really cool. That was a great chat. I really enjoyed that one. I'll stick a link in the show notes if you want to go and listen to any of those interviews with Jake or Jared. The most downloaded tune on the podcast in the first 2 years has been Cherokee Shuffle, followed by Turkey in the Straw. Those are the two that have had by far the most downloads, actually. They're really popular. But another cool thing that happened over the last few days was Doc Watson's 100th birthday, which has been celebrated by all sorts of things. I'm sure you've seen lots of stuff on social media and around about that. But I released 2 really special episodes on Friday for Doc's birthday. I spent 2 or 3 months, as some of you will know by now, talking to all sorts of people who knew Doc, played with Doc, loved Doc, were inspired by Doc. And I put out nearly 5 hours in 2 episodes with people like Jack Lawrence and T. Michael Coleman and Tim O'Brien, Bryan Sutton, Chris Eldridge, Laurie Lewis, a whole bunch of really cool people. So if you haven't heard those yet, go and check them out. There was such a lot of fun to do, and there's just some great stuff in there from people on their memories and inspirations from Doc. Just really enjoyed those. Cool, so let's crack on with this week's briefing. I'd like to start with just sort of general bits of news and announcements from this week. And the first one is Telluride have their 50th anniversary festival this year, which is really exciting. And they've announced a whole bunch of people that are playing at that, which would be really cool. They've got Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, they've got Nickel Creek, they've got Sam Bush, Bella Fleck and the Flecktones, Sierra Farrell, Sarah Jaros, String Cheese Incident, and a really cool sort of pairing of Emmylou Harris featuring Watch House, which I think could be really interesting. But there's like details on their website. I'll put a link in the show notes to that. But yeah, all sorts of stuff going on for the 50th anniversary. And that's June 15th to 18th this year. So that's really exciting. And the other thing that I've seen is coming up. Ron Block, banjo player, guitar player from Union Station, Alison Krauss's band, I'm sure you all know, he's putting out a banjo app. He's been filming a whole load of content to teach people to play the banjo. And he's putting it together as an app that you can download on your phone and get lessons from Ron, which is a great idea. It's really cool. So I messaged him to ask about it. And he said it's going to start off as a beginner course that sort of takes people from being able to, you need to be able to play a note through to being able to play a tune. And then he's going to add in content which will then take people on to sort of beginner, intermediate level, which just sounds brilliant. He's putting it together now, so I'm going to keep in touch with Ron and find out when it's due, and I'll sort of check back in with you about that and let you know. But that sounds like a really cool thing. And new records. There's quite a bit coming up, actually. There's some really cool stuff. As I said last week, Michael Cleveland's Loving in the Game record was due out last week, and that's out now. That's really exciting. So that's on my playlist this week, and I'm going to listen to that a lot. There's some cool stuff coming up pretty soon. The Nickel Creek Celebrants record drops this month on March the 24th. And then there's 3 things the week after that look really interesting. There's the Mighty Poplar record I talked about last week, which includes Chris Eldridge and Noam Picalny from Punch Brothers. That sounds like it's going to be a really cool thing. There's a new record from Rachel Bayman called Common Nation of Sorrow, which also comes out on March 31st. And I saw Rachel play She supported Sierra Hull and Justin Moses in London when I saw them a few weeks ago. And I was also there to interview Sierra, so I got to have a quick chat to Rachel as well. Heard a couple of songs at the gig from that record, and that sounds really cool. So keep your eyes out for that, the new Rachel Bayman record. And also there's a new record from Natalie Padilla called Montana Wildflower. Natalie's two-time national fiddle champion. She won the Rocky Grass Fiddle Contest in 2015, and she's the current Kentucky State Fiddle Champion. And that sounds like a really interesting record. I haven't heard anything from that yet, but that's going to be a cool one. And that's, also March 31st. And there's a new record from Bela Fleck with Edgar Meyer and Zakir Hussain due sometime in May, I think, where the first single from that, which is called Owl's Misfortune, is out now. So some really interesting bits and pieces there, and all sorts of stuff coming up. And we're going to move on to the little segment of the show that I like to call Scroll On Buddy. And that's just some interesting stuff that I've seen on social media. It's sort of become my newspaper, really. I check it in the morning and see what's going on, and it's a great place to get a sense of, who's doing what. And it's really interesting stuff. Some really cool pictures of Billy Strings playing Tony Rice's D28 at his Doc Watson tribute thing on Friday. It just looked really cool to see that being played again. There's been a lot of speculation about what happened to that after Tony died. And it's just, it's fun to see. But I'm pretty sure Billy hasn't got that guitar. He just had it for the night and played on a few tunes at the end of the set. But it's so cool to see it being played. And that's been all over Instagram and Facebook for the past couple of days. Also seen on Instagram, Wes Corbett is in the studio making a new record. I interviewed Wes a while ago now about his last record, Cascade, which is a really cool interview, and go and listen to that if you haven't heard that one yet. Wes is a really cool guy, really interesting. And he's got a bunch of people on this new record that I've interviewed over the past couple of years, so it'll be really exciting to hear all that together. He's got Sierra Hull on it, Paul Coet, Bryan Sutton, Chris Eldridge, Bronwyn Keith Hines, Justin Moses. They've all been on the podcast. But he's also got Sam Bush on it, Daryl Anger, Brittany Haas, Casey Campbell. Sounds like a really cool record. I loved Cascade. A really, really good record. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what Wes comes up with next. And also another record with a few of those players on as well. Caitlin Canty, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Caitlin, there's an album she's got called Quiet Flame, and she wasn't on my radar until I started seeing bits and pieces on Instagram. And I've listened to some bits, and it sounds great. And again, it's got Paul Coet on it, Brittany Haas, and Sarah Jaros, sort of the house band for it, and produced by Chris Eldridge from Punch Brothers and Mighty Poplar. So that sounds like it's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to hearing a bit of that. I'm not quite sure when it's out yet. It's up for pre-order. I'm not sure what date it's out. I'll let you know more on that when I see a date for it as well. But worth a listen, definitely. And that's it for this week. Another quick update, as always. Just want to do one of these every week, drop in a few interesting bits, and hopefully they'll be useful to you. Don't forget, if you want updates on these episodes, go to the website, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and there's a place there you can sign up for the mailing list, and I will drop you updates about whatever you're interested in. If you just want the tunes, I'll let you know about those. If you just want interviews, if you want all of it, it's all cool. On the website, there is also a list of all the interview episodes, because some people are keen to hear the ones they've missed. There's a link to that in the show notes as well. And don't forget, if you are listening on Spotify, you are missing a whole bunch of content. There's a whole load of fiddle tune backing tracks on the podcast that you can get if you listen on other platforms. But that's it. If you want any more info, go to bluegrassjamalong.com or come and find me on Instagram or Facebook. Just type in Bluegrass Jam Along and you'll find me. And finally, if you want something included in one of these episodes, if you're a band, if you represent a band, if you work for a festival, a record label, whatever, send me your info and I'll include whatever I can. It's just matt@bluegrassjamalong.com. So just send me your stuff. But that is it for this week. Have a great week. I will see you next time. Happy picking. Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collings Guitars and Mandolins, making some of the finest guitars and mandolins in the world since the 1970s. Visit collingsguitars.com and find out why.